Given this more recent census data, why does the Honolulu Sustainable Community Plan revision project a future population of 15,500 in 2035 when it's over at that already at 25 years old? They use this to analyze impacts of two major developments based on a future regional population of 15,500. It's not only an error, it's dishonest. And it knowingly benefits a special interest, not the community. I believe having a correct baseline population is key, and I am baffled as to why my testimony to the DPP was neither acknowledged nor addressed in this plan. Even if I had not testified about this, the DPP should be using the best data available.
The plan is inconsistent with the general plan and also within itself because it purports to keep the rural area as such, and that ag land should be protected, that it proposes massive urban development, state zone ag land in Laie and Malaekahana. When it comes to housing, affordable housing, it is our position that the housing needs can be met on lands that are already approved for residential development in the previous Sustainable Communities Plan, 1999.
But some of the testimony that Mr. Young presented to you, basically, it is a falsification of the record. Basically, it is a falsification of the official record because it misstates a number of things. For example, if Mr. Young's department is satisfied that BYU and Zion Securities, not Zion Securities, BYU and HRI, the whole Mormon church operation in Laie, is on the brink of financial disaster, you would think that they would have asked for records, financial records, in order to substantiate the issue. That has never been done. A lot of talk about affordable housing as part of the Envision Laie plan. If I tell you that my bunch of bananas is affordable, the first thing you ask me is how much do my bananas cost? There has never been public disclosure as to what these houses in Laie are going to cost. You should insist on it.
In working with a think tank, they taught us to work with critical thinking skills, focus on the problem, and then come up with a solution. And then if the solution solves the problem, then we have to figure out, does it solve it by 10%, 5%, 100%?
I just pray that you'll see your way to make us have a home to call our own. Now our two grown children with their families live with us.
I don't consider myself a special interest person with a special interest needs for myself. I feel that it would be selfish for me to sit before you this day and oppose this plan because I know a lot of people within both communities and even the other community, Laie, Kaulu, Ha'ula, they pay for somebody else's mortgage just to rent their home. If they have the opportunity to buy their home, they would have the blessings like I have, be able to survive, to be able to do things in the area.
Really revolve around three areas. One is the discussion about housing. We found that in reading through different sections of the report, it talks about providing adequate affordable housing for the residents of the Honolulu region. However, it also states that the current areas are actually meeting that demand, which I think is inconsistent and doesn't really follow. I think that the Department of Land Permitting needs to look at that and revise it.
I'm optimistic that my own children will have a home, because I'm still renting. And I look at this as an opportunity for me to provide a home and also for my children to hopefully purchase a home out where we love to live, and that is in Laie.
I want to get on the bus. I'm in favor of this plan. If I can buy 2 or 3 houses here in Laie, I would. We will work hard. That's the type of people we're raised to be. This is our generation, our time. Give us a chance. People are developing everywhere. We want to get in the game.
I've raised my kids, 8 children in that community, out of which, because of not having enough employment there or affordable housing, half of my kids have had to move to the mainland. Now I don't have that other than Skype and FaceTime That's how I see my grandkids that are there. I'm going to approve this plan so that we can have affordable housing and additional employment. Thank you.
3 of my 4 children have all been born in Oahu. I'm in favor of this proposed plan. The reason is because I love open green space. If you look at the residential lots in Laie, so many families have had to give up their backyard in order to build a second house. That's not what the country is about. If you contrast this with the lands that are currently maintained by HRI and its sister institutions, for example, the beautiful Halila Boulevard in Laie, the temple grounds, the UAFI campus itself, even Laie Park.
We need jobs, we need more housing. We love the community. Most of the people that live and work there don't want to see the character drastically change, but the fact is that the character of our area is changing. As homes get more and more expensive and families are not able to purchase the homes there, people come in from the outside and purchase homes. We need more affordable housing that will be affordable in perpetuity.
I live in Honolulu. My family owned properties for over 100 years, and it's not Hawaii Home Commission. It's owned by my mom and dad working hard to acquire the property. They had passed on, and I inherited some of it. Now, we are going in the wrong direction as far as what was said before by Mr. Young. There's too much development and too little planning. Can you imagine when they build what they want to do, and the traffic is going to be 50 times more than what is now? It's going to be a catastrophe on that highway.
You look into the audience, you can see that many of the young fathers like myself aren't able to make it. We are the generation that are having to move out. I have a 1-year-old, I have a son that's going to be born this June. I'd like the opportunity to have my feet grounded into teaching the same principles and the same values that my father taught me. I could sit here and go over some data, but it's not the point. I'm asking for your consideration to look at the balance stories and look at the data and understand that I myself as a father see a need for me to carry on those stories with my son and with my daughters.
I also, like many people here, have multiple people in my home. I have 2 of my sons that are married and living in apartments that we had to build for them because there is no space that these kids can afford to live. A typical young worker earning $15 an hour earns $2,600 a month. With that, after taxes and having to pay rent of usually $1,500 to $1,800 for a 2-bedroom apartment or home is just obviously undoable.
Malaekahana has been several generations, not only of being in the community in the Kolalo area, but really, really making a very concerted and decided effort to determine and pursue careers and livelihoods and professions that make it possible to live with dignity and pride in a way that we can contribute in a really pa'a way to the community.
You have heard and will hear testimony about the need for affordable housing, drainage, economic and agricultural development, all while maintaining the rural atmosphere and culture we know and love. We feel the draft plan maintains that balance, helps us be sustainable moving forward, and looks to protect our future with development in an area so that we are not a bedroom community. We have development in the area.
My dream for my community is that families can have a place where they can afford their homes, where they can work, and shop, they can worship, they can play, they can study close to home, where our culture, our people, and our aina are treated with utmost respect. I believe the amended KSCP draft addresses those needs of our community.
I really want to stay in Laie for the rest of my life. And as much as I love living with my granny and my parents and my sister, I mean, at some point I would like to be able to have a place of my own in the place that I love.
I'm a mother for 5 children, but I have 4 children, they married and stay with me. They have no more house, but I want to support my children. Because the rent and stuff is high, they never afford to pay the rent, and I bring all my kids I need to support my kids. But I'm coming over here to support the community. I work at BYU. It's a blessing for me and my family.
Most of the people that have voiced their opinions in support of this are in support because of the need for housing. However, according to developer Chuck Wavin, founder of the Hawaii Housing Alliance, and a longtime advocate for affordable housing, he says too often, affordable housing is equated with public housing and almost poverty. But the affordable housing crisis affects a broad swathe of the middle class. He notes it would take 3.19 firemen to be able to afford the median-priced home in Oahu. It would take 3.63 school teachers or 5.2 hotel front desk clerks. And what we have isn't just an affordable housing problem, we have an income problem. With the majority of our population in Laie working for PCC and or BYU, would it be safe to say that they make as much as a fireman, a school teacher, or a hotel front desk clerk? Small joke. How many PCC workers would it take to buy a median range affordable house? I worry that this affordable housing hike will find many disappointed when this housing does become available. Then who will qualify?
The other point I wanted to make was that everybody here in the blue shirts represents a particular religion, faction, and the housing that's going to be developed and the jobs that are going to be developed are all to benefit a singular organization. Not very many people from outside of the Mormon Church are hired by the Mormon Church to fulfill vacancies or job positions in their organizations. I've listened to all these people talk about their 5 kids, their 16 grandchildren. Just the people in this room, there's not enough houses going to be built that will accommodate their families, let alone anybody else. The reality is not everybody gets to live or stay here. It's very difficult. It's a very expensive place to live, this island. And as much as we want to keep, people want to keep their families here, the reality is it's not going to happen. The wages are not high enough to support even affordable housing. Housing will not be affordable. There still will have to be many families sharing.
I'm going to crack the myth on affordable housing, folks. Do you know how many affordable housing units we were promised in the Everplain? Thousands and thousands and thousands. One development alone, Castle and Cook, this was in the paper recently, and I know this for personal experience. Thousands we were promised. Castle and Cook, after they received their permits to go ahead and build, based on these 751 homes, they decided they could only afford to build 71. And to crack the myth of you need more homes, we already have 54,000 homes waiting for you folks to buy out on the Everplain. You can come out and buy it.
The Envision plan does not in any way affect the Kuleana lands. It bypasses the land. They keep saying it's going to take the land away. It just doesn't. It's not true.
It
does.
One moku affects other moku. And we're hoping, I'm hoping, that your decision will be based on what is best for the whole island.
Buku Plantation Camp, every local family there has been given an eviction notice. So such are the stresses of urbanization. There are also people in Laie who have owed thousands of dollars in sewer fees and they cannot afford to pay. There have also been a lot of firing of local people and new people coming in from the mainland, as has been said. And so it goes on and on. The most fundamental decision that we have to address today is identity of this region. Do we want to adhere to the Oahu General Plan that affords this region to reflect Hawaii's rural character, open space, lifestyle, or do we want to continually turn the whole of Oahu into the likes of Waikale and Nui?
That this is something that I want to split communities. I don't want this to be a sore subject amongst friends and family. But I do want to say that I hope that everyone can take a look at this and have a broader view, have a better understanding of what your neighbors feel. My recommendation is to change it from Envision Laie to Envision Ko'ololo.